You don't have to be a Star Wars fan to know who the Sith are. Darth Vader is arguably the most popular villain of all time, and he was only the apprentice of an even more powerful Sith Lord. The Sith themselves have always been a part of the Star Wars story since the beginning, but their history is not widely known. Much of the previous history itself has changed or been left as legends material. But in this video, I will then discuss the overall known history of both the canon and legends, since I believe this is the best way to interpret who the enemy of the Jedi are. The Sith Order itself began around 6900 BBY, during a period known as the 100-Year Darkness. The Jedi were battling with internal conflicts, as a separate faction of them wanted to follow the dark side of the Force and had their own philosophies. A series of conflicts then began between the rebellious Dark Jedi and the rest of the Order, resulting in the Dark Jedi being defeated and cast out, exiled to the unknown regions. These exiles settled on the planet Korriban and encountered its native species, named the Sith. The strongest amongst the exiles would then become the first Lord to hold the title Dark Lord of the Sith. This Dark Lord then decided to interbreed with the Sith species, who also had a natural affinity for the dark side. They would then become the original Sith Empire. Many years later, another Dark Lord named Sadao began the Great Hyperspace War, invading the Republic and laying siege to its planets. This began a long history of war between the Jedi and the Sith, which also led to another war after Exar Kun influenced the Mandalorian Wars. Many Jedi died during this conflict, while those that survived became legends. Eventually, two individuals known as Revan and Alec came across Darth Vitiate's empire in the unknown regions. Seduced by the dark side and declaring themselves Lords of the Sith, Revan and Alec became Darth Revan and Darth Malak. The dark side of the Force is stigmatized as seductive, corruptive, and addictive by the Jedi, who view it as evil, whereas the Sith themselves consider the dark side of the Force to be its most powerful manifestation. The Sith are dedicated to the code of the Sith and to mastering the dark side of the Force. Eventually, a succession of Sith-led regimes would arise to challenge the Jedi and the Galactic Republic. This became the era known as the Great Hyperspace Wars. The Jedi-led Republic armed forces managed to repel the Sith invasion from Coruscant and then pursued them all the way back to Korriban and essentially killed and purged all the Sith they could find in the galaxy. Although the Sith themselves seem to have the more powerful army, their own internal conflict and distrust helped lead to their own downfall. This began the paradox of reconciling endless personal ambition and the interests of the Sith as a whole became a great and practical philosophical concern for themselves. However, this changed after the emergence of Darth Bane. Even though many Sith Lords preceded him and many more came after Bane, he is arguably the most important Sith in history because he came up with the idea of the Rule of Two, which helped preserve the Sith for thousands of years and eventually led to the events after Order 66, where Darth Sidious finally defeated the Jedi and the Sith became the dominating power in the galaxy. But starting with Darth Bane, there would only be two Sith at a time, one to embody the power and another to crave it, a master and apprentice. While concealing their identity as Sith, a succession of Sith masters and apprentices will work throughout the centuries to place themselves in positions of power. This not only helped keep the Sith teachers alive in secret, but also guaranteed an increase in power, since a master will only be overthrown by a much more powerful apprentice, thus guaranteeing the Sith warriors to be more powerful than the average Jedi. Eventually, all this knowledge and power of a Sith will cultivate into Darth Sidious and his apprentice Vader. Thousands of years of knowledge, power, and doctrine, all held by one man. However, eventually, he became too powerful and would meet his defeat at the hands of his own apprentice, just like many Sith before him, but also at the hands of his own granddaughter Rey in the events of the sequel trilogy. Although that could be seen as the end of the Sith, and regardless of how you may feel about the sequels, I do believe the right direction forward for the future of Star Wars is to let this idea of the Sith end. The dark side will always be there as a polar opposite to the light. However, the Sith themselves are not the dark side. They themselves are followers and nothing more. The galaxy is forever expanding, and although the Sith themselves may be gone, the darkness they embrace will forever live on in the galaxy.